I'm always quite surprised and also impressed by the generosity that we are facing here in Southeast Asia as Buddhist monks. I'm not sure, is it only for the monks or is it also among each other that you are supporting each other so well and looking after each other, cooking for each other? Of course, within the family it is normal, right? But then even for strangers, not so standard. I remember back in the days when COVID was at its peak and everything was locked down. The monks were not even allowed to come down here to Tims because everything MCO, during the peak of COVID, we were not even allowed to go to Tims to collect our food. Yet, still at that time, even every day, people would prepare the food and cook it and send it up with the car to SBS. So we didn't see the devotees for a long time. We didn't see each other, right? Maybe almost a year, or at least 7-9 months before we could reopen Tims again. And yet, they never forgot about us, you know. So every day in the morning, the car would come, send up the dishes. We cannot see each other even, and then somebody would have to offer the dishes up there, one of the yogis, postulants. So quite amazing. This is one of the things that I regret from before I became a monk, from the time. Of course, you could see in the suttas, the Buddha speaks sometimes about generosity, the benefits of generosity. But it was not so part of my living culture or tradition when I was still a Buddhist devotee, not yet ordained. And I remember already leaving from home and going to Myanmar, to Burma, to become a monk. And only at that time, actually, quite close before my ordination, I realized, actually, I've never given any support to the Sangha. I've never done dana, not a single time in my whole life, to a single monk. And now I'm going to ordain very soon. So, oh my, I've been missing out. I completely forgot about this. Never thought about it. Then I thought, oh, what can I do? So I still had some funds because when you travel from Austria to Burma, I needed to have some money anyway at the time, and also keep something aside for visa and travel costs maybe later. So I thought, oh, this is now my last opportunity. And in PAOK, they also have a system where you can request to be the meal sponsor for the Sangha for the day. A little bit like here also, you can see on the whiteboard the names written. Every day you have typically 1 or 2 sponsors. In PAOK also the same system. So I asked, is there still a free slot? No la. No free slots anymore. But I had a sense of urgency because I'm going to ordain very soon. So they opened the slot for me and they shifted the other people maybe to an earlier or later day. So I could then chip in and use my remaining money that I had from my lay life for that. So at least I could do 1 dana, you know. But it was not a bad dana because I had 300 monks in PAOK collecting food on that day. I made sure they also get some ice cream. So in the end, I was quite happy that I had the opportunity with my own hand to serve the Sangha. But still, looking back, I still realize I could have been much more diligent as a layperson, like you, coming so often to listen to the Dhamma, support the Sangha, many ways, large and small. That one I had a bit neglected before. It was not so clear, it was not so part of our culture. I think it's also one of the advantages, like being part of a Buddhist society where you go regularly, where you pick up many of the basics just by being around. Whereas if you just read the texts and try to practice accordingly, many things we might miss out when we don't see it done in daily life. So even though I could read the benefits of generosity, didn't strike me as too important. Only then when I was in Burma and I saw, oh wow, people are really doing that. Then I realized, oh, I've been missing out. Now is the last chance. So then what are the benefits of generosity? Let us recap. What is the benefits for the giver, the one who gives? What can he or she reasonably expect as an outcome of generosity? Well, one of the suttas that we recite quite often here, it says, by giving food, you give life, you give energy. So for the person to live, we subsist on food. So also the giver gets long life in return. So this is one of the factors that can increase your own good karma and merit on account of which you can contribute to your own longevity. So that's one of the benefits. Second one, with food also will enable the person to have a fair complexion and the limbs properly formed. So what they call beauty. So it contributes to good appearance, healthy appearance, or even beauty and attractiveness. So for the giver also, you get beauty in return by practicing generosity. Sukha, happiness. Who wants happiness? Everybody, huh? So happiness. We support others, we give them happiness, we also get happiness in return. Doesn't have to be exactly one-on-one from the same person. Doesn't mean you give to this person, that person either now or sometime later in samsara have to give it back. It's not one-on-one. You can give to one person and later you will get something in return from somebody else on account of your wholesome karma. The same also when you receive something, it doesn't mean you have to pay back that person, you know. This is a common misunderstanding that we sometimes hear. Maybe I don't want to accept because then I have kind of a duty, responsibility to give back to that person in the future. Not like that. Well, maybe you have done something already in the past, that's why he had to give to you. So no, that principle we never see in the suttas that the Buddha says the same person will have to compensate or give back. That's not the case. In fact, it's quite beautiful when we know not only how to give, but also how to receive. And sometimes actually receiving is more difficult than giving. In the West, for example, we celebrate Christmas, and then on Christmas Day we exchange gifts. Or even among friends, even outside of celebration of Christmas, sometimes you make a gift to a person. And then very typically, often people would receive something, say, oh, thank you very much. And then they already calculate, what's the value of this thing? I need to get something for her also, you know. They already make plans, I have to get even again, because now I have received something. So maybe next week I also have to give something to her. But that actually, now it becomes a trade, you know. You give me something for 70 ringgit, I will give you something back for 70 ringgit. So it kind of almost reduces the value of actual generosity. The person just wants to support you, wants to give you something. You don't have to make even. In fact, if you make even, if I want to give you something, and then you give me something back at the same value, now we have engaged in a trade. So actually the best way of receiving gracefully is by saying thank you, or sadhu, and receiving. We don't have to make plans to give it back. Maybe later, when there's an opportunity, you have something extra, or you see the person around, you want to share something, sure, it's okay. But not in the sense of straight away thinking, okay, how can I? Or keeping a list, from this person I got this value, that person, and then you try to be very calculative, sometimes in this way. So it's quite nice when people also know not only to give, but also to receive. Receive with gratitude, thank you so much, and let it be for a while. Back in the days when I was a musician, and sometimes we would play a performance in public, in a hotel or pub or somewhere, and then often after the concert people would come up to us and say, oh, it was very nice how you performed. And I always had the tendency at that time to say, actually, it was not so good. If you made a mistake at this one song, remember this and this. But then I remember one time, one of my band members, group members, also the same situation happened. Somebody came and said, oh, you played very well. I was very surprised by what he said in response. He said, thank you. Thank you. So he just acknowledged the praise that he has received. He didn't say, no, actually I made a mistake here and there, or it was actually not so good, it was just normal. No, you just say thank you. So learning also to accept praise. It's almost by saying, no, it was not so good. It's almost like you're indirectly criticizing, you don't even know what is good music. You praise me now, but it was actually not so good. No, you can as well just say, oh, thank you. Or you could even ask, what did you like about it? Or which song did you like? Or if you cook for someone and the person says, oh, that food was good. Okay, But it would also be even nicer if the person says, I really like that one spice that you added there. What was that? Or I like the sweetness of the cake, or whatever it is. So to be a bit specific about what you want to praise has more value, because then the other person knows, it's this aspect that she really likes. And also when we receive, sometimes when somebody just says, Bande, this was nice, I might sometimes also ask, what did you like about it? Or which part did you like? Then I also know for the future, I see, this is what the person appreciates. Okay, so benefits of giving: long life, beauty, happiness, and strength, energy. And by giving these things, the giver gets those things in return. So, of course, if you do it with a happy mind, with a mind of letting go, wanting to support, that merit is very good. If on top of that, your livelihood is also purified, that also increases the value of their gift. Say you have a normal livelihood, you're a teacher or worker somewhere, electrician, whatever it is, and then with your hard-earned money you give a gift, either to the Sangha or any person, or even to an animal, that brings a lot of merit because your livelihood is pure, is okay. Whereas if your livelihood is you're a professional thief or robber, bank robber, but then with what you have stolen, you give a share to the Sangha. That act of giving is still wholesome, but it's based on wrong livelihood. So the karmic result of that action is diminished on account of that wrong livelihood. It's still wholesome, but it would bring much better result to the thief if he would not steal things to earn a living, but earn his livelihood by proper means. And then also the gift can be purified on account of the receiver. So on the receiver's end, to whom are we giving, that also makes a difference. Again, it's always wholesome to whomever you give. But if you are lucky enough to find somebody, let's say, you can give to an animal. That's good already. A pigeon, you can feed the pigeon, squirrels in the park. That's good. But giving to a human being would be even more meritorious in a sense. The result of your karma, you will get higher, better results. And even among human beings, if you can find a virtuous human being, somebody who maintains the 5 precepts, for example, that is even more meritorious than to somebody who is not so virtuous. And then even better than that, if you manage to find an Arya, a noble person, who is attained one of the noble paths and fruits, either stream enterer or higher, that's even better. But then, how do you know who is a stream enterer and who is not? Can I just go to the monks, hey, are you a stream enterer? Not so appropriate to ask everyone. So then, actually we are lucky enough that the Buddha says higher than giving to a single Arya is to give to the Sangha. To the Sangha as a whole, as a community. Why? Because it includes all the different Aryas already. You don't have to ask, are you? You give to the Sangha as a whole, and then the Sangha will distribute. It includes the Aryas also. So they can get a share of your offering if they want. So it also frees the mind up from having to worry so much on what is this monk's attainment, that person's attainment. You can just give with the thought, I give to the Sangha. Or you can express it also, I give this to the Sangha. Particularly when it's something that can be divided. If you give 1 piece of chocolate for the whole Sangha, how are we going to divide 1 piece of chocolate among 15 monks? But if it's something that can be equally shared, then it's more beneficial. Even food can still be done, but then the system would be such that the first portion goes to the most senior monks, and if there's still more left over, if there's enough, then it also comes down to the more junior monks. But with robes, for example, on Katina Day or certain occasions where many robes are given, we give to the Sangha, I'm sure every monk will get a robe. So everyone included, including the Aryas, so that they don't have to think too much who is an Arya and who is not. And then even better than giving to the Sangha is the Sangha with the Buddha at its head. If the Buddha is still alive, and he's part of the Sangha, that is even better. But then nowadays he's not around. So Sangha is good enough for us. So this is how a gift is purified on the side of the receivers. But then it doesn't mean every time you give something you have to max out, you know. To max out, and you don't give to anyone else, only to the Sangha. There's a poor person on the roadside, or starving, or lacking resources, almost dying from malnutrition. Hold on. Are you a bhikkhu? No? No, so sorry. I'm going to the monastery. The monastery already well supported, you know, they have nicely decorated walls, everything in gold. And then the poor people don't have enough to eat anymore. So it doesn't mean we only cater to one group of people. It's like when the stock exchange also, when you invest your money in the stock exchange, you have a bit of a portfolio, right? You don't put everything just on one stock. So you spread it out a little bit. So it's the same in generosity also. It's completely okay not to be so calculative. But yes, if you want to increase the value of your generosity, then to giving people who are virtuous. It doesn't have to be monastics. Lay people also can keep the 5 precepts. Or people who need it. Of course, that also will have benefit. Because if you give to somebody who doesn't need that item, whereas you give to somebody who really needs an item, even if he's not highly attained, that also has more impact. Your gift has more impact on the receiver. So all these things can be factored in. I think for me, one of the main benefits that I see sometimes also is not just later when the karmic result comes in. I remember again Christmas time when at that time my grandmother used to distribute Christmas gifts to the children, to the grandchildren. And when I was a bit older already, maybe in my early or late teens, maybe 17, 19, 20, I would also watch a little bit the whole ceremony, how she distributes to the smaller kids in our family, to my nephews and nieces. It was quite interesting. So you could see when she gives the gift to the niece, and the little kid unpacks the gift and then finds some toy inside. Oh, so happy. Well, sometimes you guess it right, you know, sometimes it likes it, sometimes not so much. Depends. But then when I look at the face of my grandmother, wow. Actually, the happiness in her eyes is often more than the happiness in the grandchild who just received the gift. And I realized, hey, it seems that giving is actually better, more enjoyable than receiving. Can that even be? And then more and more in life we can observe the same principle. And you can think back about yourself. When you have been able to support someone, it can be children, family member, friends, the Sangha. Often we feel very good inside. Generosity just feels good to the giver. Sometimes even more than receiving. Sometimes you get a gift or a present from someone. Yeah, nice also, they think of us. But then being able to give something just feels often even better than receiving. So again, I was a bit late to realize all of that. At least giving to the monks, I came a bit late to that. But I'm very happy to see that here in Malaysia, even though we are not a Buddhist country, there seems to be plenty of support for monastics, monasteries, the Sangha as a whole. And we often, the monks also, we reflect. Number one, we are not even from here. Number two, we are not your family members. And yet, we are supported so well and looked after. So I often, when I speak with the monks, they express in private to me also their appreciation for the generosity, for the support in so many different ways. So also big sadhu from my side, and all the best also everyone.